The noodles went cold an hour ago. I didn't notice. That's the thing about working 3 jobs. You stop noticing a lot of things. The cold, the quiet, the way your studio apartment starts to smell like a decision you'd make differently if you had a second chance. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, laptop open to a spreadsheet I'd built over 14 months. Every number color-coded. Every transaction logged with the precision of someone who knew, deep down, that they were building a case against themselves. $340, textbooks Clara needed for a class she dropped 2 weeks later. $80, the cafe order I delivered in the rain because she texted, "You're literally my hero," smiley face, and I was, apparently, the kind of person that worked on. For $1,000, the necklace. I'd taken a predatory loan for that one. The kind with an interest rate that doesn't fit on a standard font size. I told myself it was worth it. I told myself a lot of things. My phone buzzed. I looked down. There she was, Clara, in high definition, wearing the necklace. Julian's arm draped over her shoulder like he owned the furniture. Her caption finally got rid of the fly buzzing around me. Sparkles. 47 comments. All laughing emojis. I stared at it for a long moment. And then, genuinely, honestly, I laughed. Not the kind that means something is funny. The kind that happens when the last number finally clicks into place and the equation makes perfect, terrible sense. I said out loud to no one. So that's what $11,400 looks like from the outside. My chest had been hurting for weeks. Months, probably. The kind of hurt you explain away because you don't have time for it, and you definitely can't afford the copay. I've been ignoring it the way I ignored the cold noodles and the overdue notices, and the way Julian once introduced me to his friends as the guy who handles stuff. It turned out that wasn't something you could just keep ignoring. The pain arrived like a door being closed firmly, not slammed. Polite almost, like the universe saying, "All right, that's enough of that." The spreadsheet blurred. The phone screen dimmed. The last thing I heard was the hum of the refrigerator and, somewhere outside, a car alarm going off about nothing. And then, darkness. Quick and clean, like a channel changing. And then, the sharp, unmistakable smell of expensive floor wax. I blinked. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Morning light. The faint echo of the business faculty hallway filling up for the day. I looked down at my hands. Young. Unhurt. Holding a textbook I remembered buying on sale 3 semesters ago. I took one slow breath. Then another. Somewhere down the hall, I could already hear the specific quality of silence that meant a crowd was forming. The kind that gathers when someone is performing and everyone is pretending they aren't watching. I knew exactly what I was about to walk into. I knew every line of it, every beat. I knew where Clara would be standing, which angle she'd chosen, which expression she'd rehearsed in the mirror before leaving her dorm. I'd spent 14 months playing that scene the wrong way. I tucked the textbook under my arm. All right, I thought, and I was almost smiling. Let's see what happens when I actually pay attention. I started walking. Here's the thing about watching a performance when you already know the script. You stop watching the performer. You start watching the production. The lighting choices. The blocking. The way the supporting cast reacts. All the little technical decisions that the audience isn't supposed to notice because they're too busy feeling things on cue. I stopped feeling things on cue approximately 30 seconds after I woke up with expensive floor wax in my nose. The hallway was exactly as I remembered it. Same lockers. Same lockers. Same morning crowd filtering in with coffee cups and half-finished conversations. Same quality of light coming through the east-facing windows that made everyone look slightly more cinematic than they deserved. And there, center stage, Clara. She'd chosen the stretch of hallway near the main notice board. Good instinct, honestly. High-foot traffic, natural gathering point. Excellent sight lines from the entrance. If you're going to stage a scene, you'd pick the same spot. She looked small. She always knew how to look small, shoulders curved in, chin slightly down, one hand clutching the strap of her bag like it was keeping her upright. Skylar stood over her, arms crossed, expression sharp enough to cut glass. I remember this part. Old Ethan, the one who'd spent 14 months building a spreadsheet of his own poor decisions, would have been across that hallway in 4 seconds flat. Loud. Righteous. completely certain he was doing the right thing. I watched instead. 30 seconds. That was all it took. I saw the moment Clara registered the phone cameras coming out, a fractional shift in her posture, almost imperceptible. The shoulder curve deepened. The chin dropped another degree. And then, with the casual precision of someone who had done this many times before, her fingers moved to her left wrist. A small pinch. Just enough. Her eyes went glassy on command. There it is. I looked at Skylar. Really looked, this time. Not with the reflexive annoyance of someone who'd already decided who the villain was. Skylar's jaw was tight. Her hands, crossed over her chest, weren't relaxed. Her right hand, specifically, was gripping her own sleeve hard enough that her knuckles had gone pale. She wasn't being cruel. She was furious. And underneath the fury, barely visible if you weren't paying attention, she was shaking. I reached into my jacket pocket. I'd started carrying a handkerchief a few weeks ago, a habit picked up from a late-night shift at the hotel where one of my former bosses said it was the mark of someone who was always prepared for other people's disasters. Useful advice, it turned out. I walked forward, not toward Clara. I moved around the edge of the crowd, calm, unhurried, the way you move through a space when you're not performing for anyone, and stopped next to Skylar. I didn't announce myself. I didn't raise my voice. I simply held the handkerchief out at her side, where only she could see it. She looked down at it, then up at me. I kept my voice low, neutral, the tone you use when you're pointing out a factual error, not throwing a punch. Your hand is shaking, Miss Skylar. Whatever she's doing, don't let it get into your body. That's how she wins. A beat. Keep your composure. You look better when she can't read you. Skylar stared at me for exactly 2 seconds. Then, slowly, she took the handkerchief. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. I stepped back, turned, started walking toward the far end of the hallway at the same unhurried pace I'd arrived with. Behind me, I heard it, the specific quality of silence that happens when a crowd realizes the scene they were watching has changed genres without warning. A few murmurs, a confused shuffle, and then Clara's voice, stripped for just a half-second of its careful softness. What? She caught herself, but not fast enough. I didn't turn around. I didn't need to see her face to know what was on it. I already knew what it looked like when Clara realized the audience was looking somewhere else. I found a seat in the back corner of the east stairwell and opened my textbook to a page I didn't need to read. The campus forum notification came in 4 minutes later. Someone had already clipped and uploaded the moment, the handkerchief, the low exchange, the way I'd walked away without looking back. The caption, Sim King just handed the Ice Queen a handkerchief and walked off like he was returning a library book. What is happening? 200 views. 300. Then it stopped being a number I could track in real time. My phone buzzed. A message from a number I didn't recognize. You're not what I thought you were. SB. I looked at it for a moment. Then I put my phone away and went back to the textbook. The day I decided was off to an interesting start. By noon, the handkerchief clip had 12,000 views. I knew this because 3 different people told me about it unprompted. A guy from my economics lecture, the barista at the campus cafe, and a freshman who stopped me in the corridor with the specific energy of someone delivering breaking news. I thanked all 3 of them and kept walking. Here's what nobody tells you about starting over with full information. It's not exciting in the way you'd expect. There's no dramatic music, no slow-motion montage of a man discovering his power. It's more like, you know where all the furniture is, so you stop stubbing your toe. Quietly, repeatedly, in the dark. I stubbed my toe a lot in the first timeline. I wasn't planning to do that again. The library. Clara had chosen the 3rd floor reading room. Our spot, technically in the sense that I'd claimed it first and she had colonized it later, the way certain plants do to a garden. The round table by the window. The 2 chairs. One of them empty, angled outward at exactly the degree that says I've been waiting, but I'm not going to say I've been waiting. I saw it from the stairwell entrance. I walked past it without breaking stride and took a seat at the long desk in the far back corner, the one with the slightly broken lamp and the view of the emergency exit. Not scenic, completely functional. I spread my notes out, found my place in the chapter I'd been reading, and did not look at the round table by the window. The 2 chairs, one of them empty, angled outward at exactly the degree that says I've been waiting, but I'm not going to say I've been waiting. I saw it from the stairwell entrance. I walked past it without breaking stride and took a seat at the long desk in the far back corner, the one with the slightly broken lamp and the view of the emergency exit. Not scenic, completely functional. I spread my notes out, found my place in the chapter I'd been reading, and did not look at the round table by the window. This lasted approximately 22 minutes. Then the chair across from me scraped back, and Clara sat down. She set her bag on the table with a small, deliberate sound, the acoustic version of "I've arrived." I kept reading. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. I turned a page. She exhaled, not a sigh exactly, more of a, "I am carrying something heavy, and I want you to notice" exhale, a very specific category of exhale that I'd spent 14 months responding to like a fire alarm. I turned another page. Ethan, soft, a little fragile at the edges, perfectly calibrated. I want to talk about this morning. What Skylar said to me was really. Clara. She stopped. I still didn't look up. The paragraph I was reading was about market elasticity, and I was finding it genuinely interesting, which helped. I'm busy right now. A beat. I could feel her recalibrating. I know you're busy. I thought we were friends, and lately you've been so. We were friends, I said, in the same way that a business stays open because one partner keeps paying the operational costs and the other one keeps enjoying the location. I turned another page. And frankly, the math on my bank statement doesn't support our friendship anymore. I've done the audit. The numbers aren't good, Clara. I've had to let the whole venture go. Silence. The specific, textured silence of someone who has prepared for several versions of this conversation and not this one. I looked up, just briefly, just enough. Her expression was doing something complicated. The soft confusion she used when she wanted someone to feel guilty, cycling rapidly through its options, unable to land on the right one because none of them had been built for this. For someone who was looking at her the way you look at a receipt you've already filed. That's a horrible thing to say, she managed. I'm a person, not a... I know you are, I said, not unkindly. That's why I'm being direct, instead of just not showing up. Consider this a professional courtesy. I looked back down at my notes. Across the library, someone coughed. A page turned. The fluorescent light nearest to us flickered once, like it was punctuating the moment. Clara didn't move for a long time. Then she did, standing in that particular way that telegraphs, "I am leaving with dignity to everyone in a 12-foot radius. Base top adjusted. Chin up. The works." She made it 4 tables before the shadow fell across my desk. Julian was bigger than me. He'd always been bigger than me. He operated on the assumption that physical presence was a form of argument, which, to be fair, had worked reliably his entire life. He picked up my textbook. Not aggressively. Just picked it up, set aside, like it was something in his way. "Who gave you permission," he said, "to talk to her like that?" The reading room had gone quiet in that particular way. That means everyone is pretending not to listen while absolutely listening. I looked at the space where my textbook had been. Then I looked at Julian. He was doing the face, the one I used to find intimidating. The relaxed confidence of someone who had never needed to learn any other mode of communication. He was waiting for the flinch, the apology, the backpedaling. I looked at him the way you look at a variable that keeps showing up in an equation with a predictable value. "Julian," I said, "you've been operating without me for 4 days, and you already look tired. How's the midterm project going?" His jaw tightened. "Don't change the finance software," I continued pleasantly. "The modeling tool for the portfolio assignment. Do you remember your login credentials?" The specific quality of his silence answered the question. I reached over, picked up my textbook from where he'd set it, and put it back in front of me. That's what I thought. He leaned down, the move that was supposed to feel threatening. "You think you can just walk away from us? You don't exist without us, man. No one knows who you are." I considered this genuinely for a moment. Then, "Interesting hypothesis," I said. "I'll test it and report back." I opened my textbook to the correct page. Julian straightened. Behind him, Clara was watching from a distance, expression unreadable. A few seats over, someone had their phone out. He picked up my textbook one more time. I let him. I had it memorized anyway. We'll see how long that attitude lasts, he said, and then he walked away. Not quite the commanding exit he'd intended, but he worked with what he had. I reached across the desk to the chair beside me where I'd set my notebook, found my pen, and wrote myself a reminder at the bottom of the page. Check. Does Julian know the midterm is worth 40% of his final grade? I underlined it. Then I went back to reading about market elasticity. I was packing up an hour later when my phone buzzed. The same unknown number. Julian's going to try to buy you back. Don't accept anything with a logo on it. SB. I stared at the message. Then I typed back. I don't accept payments in watches. I accept equity. The response came in 11 seconds. Good. Come to the Park Building Annex after your last class. I have a proposal that doesn't have a logo on it. I stood there in the emptying library, bag over one shoulder, broken lamp flickering behind me. I thought. I looked at the round table by the window, the one with the two chairs, one still angled outward like it was waiting. Then I looked at the address Skylar had just sent. The math wasn't complicated. The business audit line lands like a precision instrument. Not cruel, just devastatingly accurate. And Julian's exit is perfectly deflated without ever becoming a shouting match. Ethan doesn't fight. He just already knows the answer to every question they ask. Ready for Chapter 4. Return to sender. The watch arrived at 9:47 a.m. I know the exact time because I was in the middle of a practice problem when the first year knocked on my study room door with the kind of nervous energy that meant he'd been told this was a simple errand and had since realized it wasn't. He was holding a matte black box with a ribbon on it. The kind of ribbon that costs more than the ribbon. From Julian, he said. He said to tell you it's a goodwill gesture. I looked at the box. Looked at the kid. He couldn't have been more than 18, and he had the expression of someone who had agreed to deliver a package and was now understanding, too late, that he'd agreed to be a prop in someone else's scene. What's your name? I said. He blinked. Marcus. Marcus. Put the box on the desk. He did. I opened it. Inside was a watch that retailed for somewhere between irresponsible and I should call my financial advisor. Silver face, leather strap. The kind of weight that meant it was supposed to feel significant when you put it on. I turned it over. Checked the back. Put it down. Then I tore a page from the back of my notebook, wrote 4 words on it, folded it once, and tucked it under the watch strap. Return this to Julian, please, I said. Exact condition. Don't open the note. Marcus looked at the box. Looked at me. Picked it up with the careful hands of someone who wanted absolutely no part of whatever this was. He's not going to be happy. He's not currently happy anyway, I said. The midterm project is due Thursday. He doesn't know the login credentials to the modeling software, and he's burned every bridge to the one person who does. I smiled at Marcus, who had done nothing wrong and deserved no part of this. That's not your problem. You're just delivering a package. Marcus nodded slowly, tucked the box under his arm, left. I went back to my practice problem. 20 minutes later, my campus forum app sent me a notification. I didn't have the notifications turned on. Someone had tagged me. The photo was already at 4,000 views. The matte black box, lid open, watch still inside, the note visible and photographed before Marcus could stop whoever grabbed it. For words in my handwriting, legible enough that the forum had already put them in the caption. I charge industry rates now. Below it, Julian's response. A voice note that someone had transcribed in the comments. He returned it. The comment section was a natural disaster of entertainment. I scrolled for exactly 45 seconds, which was longer than I'd intended, and then I put my phone away and reminded myself that satisfaction was not the goal. Clarity was the goal. Satisfaction was just the bonus. I had one class left, Advanced Financial Modeling, which I was taking a semester early because the regular schedule felt slow. The professor had a habit of ending 15 minutes before the bell, which meant the room was usually half empty by the time the last problem set was distributed. I was packing up when I heard the chair scrape. Not behind me, beside me. You caught the duration mismatch in my bond portfolio projection. I looked up. Skylar Park sat with the posture of someone who had never once slouched in her life. Not out of affectedness, but because it genuinely hadn't occurred to her. She had a laptop open and a printed spreadsheet folded in thirds on the desk, and she was looking at me with the focused attention. of someone assessing infrastructure. Not a person. Infrastructure. It should have been uncomfortable. It was actually the most comfortable I'd felt being looked at in a long time. Your convexity adjustment was off by a factor, I said. Small error. Compounding consequences if you're presenting to anyone who checks the second derivative. My father's consultant didn't catch it. Your father's consultant is billing by the hour and has 4 other clients, I said. He's optimizing for billable time, not accuracy. Skylar looked at me for a moment. Then she unfolded the spreadsheet and set it flat on the desk between us. Page 3, she said. Tell me what else you see. I looked at the sheet. Then I pulled it slightly closer, found my pen, and started annotating. She watched in silence. Didn't interrupt. Didn't ask me to explain myself until I'd finished, which took about 6 minutes and covered 11 separate notations. When I set the pen down, she picked up the sheet and read every note with the same focused quiet. This would have embarrassed me in front of my father's board, she said finally. Yes, and you just see this. Naturally. I see most things naturally, I said. I just spent 14 months looking at the wrong things. She set the sheet down, folded her hands on the desk, looked at me with the expression of someone who has done a calculation and arrived at a conclusion and is now simply deciding how to present it. I have a proposal for you, she said. Not a watch, not a favor, a contract. I leaned back in my chair. I'm listening, I said. And for the first time in what felt like a very long time, maybe longer than one lifetime, someone was about to offer me something that wasn't designed to cost me everything. The afternoon light came through the classroom windows at a flat, golden angle. I picked up my pen.